Welcome to the 19th Hole Golf Show. I'm Ryan Ballinger. It's great to have you here. David Pillsbury is our guest. He's the CEO of Invited. David, thanks for being here. We're at the PGA show. What is your view of the state of the industry at the moment? Big, vibrant convention center. As we were talking before we started recording, a lot of space filled, a lot of people here. So things seem to be in good times.
I got to tell you, I just walked the floor, and it's like literally shoulder to shoulder. It's crazy. And I ran into Susie Whaley, former president, and Bill Whaley, her husband, who used to run one of the TPCs that I was responsible for. And I said, have you ever seen it like this? They said, no, this is just another level. So I would say, the state of the business right now is as good as it's ever been. I read from the NGF that we just eclipsed 47 million players. I remember my first show was, I think, 89 or 90. And I remember when Fensham kicked off Golf 2020, 26 years ago. And I remember going to the first one in Ponte Vedra. I think it was 1990. And I think we had 20 million golfers. And we were trying to figure out a roadmap to get to, I think, 30 or 40. And now we're at 47.
Yeah.
So it's pretty remarkable. Now, there's cracks in the dam, but right now, if you snap the line, it's as good as it's ever been.
Obviously you're trying to think ahead 2, 3, 4 years now for that long tail. What do you see as the potential stumbling blocks, other than kind of the natural stuff? Economy can change, personal taste can change. What are those kind of potential stumbling blocks?
Well, I'll start by sort of framing it in the positive, which is, we as an industry have to do a better job of welcoming people into the sport. So if I'm one of those players that watched golf on television, that took my credit card and went to a Top Golf or a Pop Stroke or a 5-iron golf and started to experience golf, started to actually go play green grass, want to join a club, those people we need to nurture. We need to make the whole experience better, which means game improvement. It means making the game easier to play. It means access. It means getting people connected to other people so they can do things together, which is something we all were reminded of in COVID, right? We miss human connection, and golf is one of those things that connects people, which is why golf is so popular right now, is it's been rediscovered as a place where you can enrich your life.
Yeah.
We have to continue to perpetuate that as an industry. So, to state sort of on the negative side, that's why we are against the rollback of the ball. I understand that for some people at the very elite level, that may make a lot of sense. Anything that makes this difficult game harder, I don't think is good for the business of golf. I think it's challenging enough.
Yeah.
The rift between the PGA Tour and Live Golf, and the fact that we only see the best players in the world play each other in the majors, that's a problem. Because we were coming off of a period where, every weekend we had another great story.
Yeah.
Think about it. What sport do you know of that's got an infomercial Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with the best players 42 weeks out of the year?
Right.
Well, the answer up until 2 years ago was there wasn't one. It was golf.
Yeah.
Right. Since the riff, it's been challenging, which is why we've seen ratings drop, and it's just not as compelling, which I think ultimately is going to be it's going to be negative for the business.
You talked about the expansion of the number of golfers and also how we characterize golfers, right? We don't think about it now anymore just about people who come and play at a green grass facility. You could be a golfer and go play exclusively on Top Golf or a simulator, or take your pick. How can we do a better job as an industry of talking to one another to take those people who are non-traditional golfers, making them cross over, or vice versa, kind of making a bigger ecosystem?
That is the primary challenge, right? And I think one of the things I'm excited about over so many years of being in the business is I think the PGA of America has really figured out, hey, that's our role. Our job is to build relationships with consumers. So as opposed to transacting business with consumers.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Right.
Which is what a golf professional can do to inspire someone to play. Right. And I heard a story actually from the guy that runs the TPCs today at a little seminar we went to yesterday. And he told a story about his wife who'd never played. She's not a good player. She was playing with three of her buddies. They played every week, sort of after COVID. And then about a year ago, they started to get back into their normal routine. They stopped playing. And they ran into their LPGA golf instructor, she did, at the grocery store. And the instructor said, "Hey, Sherry, where have you been? We've missed you. Please come back out and see me at the club." She came back out with her friends, started playing again. Human connection.
Right.
That's what makes the difference. And more people are figuring that out.
Yeah.
And we've got some really amazing things we're doing systemically within our club ecosystem to institutionalize that so that we don't lose members because they've lost interest. They think they've run out of time to play and they've stopped playing golf.
Yeah.
And it's working.
Yeah. I mean, we have a couple of invited facilities not too far from our home. And just the commitment to having like a studio for simulator golf and a little bit more community aspect to it. Just stuff that, well, to the name, feels like you're invited to keep coming to play, whether you have the time for an 18-hole round or just want golf in some other fashion. Did that take the industry a long time to realize we can have people play alternative forms of golf and you're still in the game?
Yes, absolutely. Golf is consumed lots of different ways, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think we finally got in a place as an industry where we accept that. It's like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to play 3 holes, 2 holes, 9 holes, 18 holes, everything doesn't have to be, stroke play competition, right? I mean, most people play golf because it's social.
Yeah.
And they want to connect with other folks. And so we think of golf as this big pyramid, this ecosystem. And, most of the manufacturers focus on the very top, which is the more elite player, typically the man or the woman who wants to get from a 10 handicap to a 5. Well, the fat part of the pyramid aren't 10 handicappers.
Right.
They're 25 handicappers.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is we need to cater to that part of the pyramid,
right,
which is to say, how do we make this enjoyable and fun, and why should you want to come back? And by the way, if you come back and play 3 holes, 9 holes, or 18 holes, it doesn't matter. We just want you to come play.
And that feels like something that's much more apt to happen in a club setting, to be candid. Because if you're going to go play a municipal course or a public course, they want spend through, they want rounds, they want tee sheets. So alternative forms of golf maybe get shunned because that's not a bottom line driver. But in a club setting, that can be.
I think that's a great point. I think public golf tends to be, and it's a broad generalization, there are exceptions to this, but it tends to be more transactional.
Yes.
Right? Where a club is more relationship driven. I mean, you are a member, you belong, we know who you are, you know who we are, we know what you like, we know what you don't like. And that deep relationship is what people crave, which is why people who are playing public golf can't wait to join a private club. As soon as they can afford to, they want to do it.
Right.
Now, there are some amazing public golf exceptions to that, where they create a relationship even with a public golfer.
Right.
But it's more the exception than the rule, I think.
Yeah. Is there something that public golf can learn from club golf to improve that experience for the consumer?
I think so, and I think it comes down to the interaction between the employees, the golf pros, and the coaches, and the golfers.
Yeah.
And where it's done well, those relationships are authentic and they're deeper than a transaction.
Yeah.
And one of the examples one of our speakers gave, who we work with on our effort to deepen our relationship with golfers who maybe aren't playing as much golf as they would like to, or as well as they would like to, is the example of a driver. So you sell a driver for $400 or $500, Let's say you paid $350 for it. It's a Callaway driver, and you think your gross profit's $150. That is one tiny part of the transaction.
Right.
The question is, what transpired in that conversation between you and me when I sold you that driver? Why are you buying the driver? What's your handicap? What are you trying to accomplish? Is this going to improve your game? Does this give me the opportunity for you to take a lesson from me?
Yeah.
Should I go play 9 holes with you? Those are all the things that go way beyond the transaction.
Yeah.
That make all of the difference. That can happen in a public setting. It's not as easy.
Right.
Because you don't know the consumer because they're in and out and they may never come back.
Right.
Versus a member at a private club.
Right, where you can kind of have it almost be a community setting inherently, right?
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit more of a closed one, but a community setting nonetheless, right?
100%.
How does that community kind of transfer within the invited world of, all right, you got outposts in hundreds of different places. How does that come together as kind of a more of a broader culture, I guess, within invited? How do you see
Yeah,
that?
well, I mean, I think you said this a few minutes ago. It starts with the brand promise. And one of the reasons we changed the name from Club Corp is because we thought Invited was much more consistent with our mission, what we call our purpose, which is like, why do we do this? And it's very simple. It's elegant. It's building relationships and enriching lives. That's our why. That's why we do it. So if you stay true to that promise, that mission, that answer to the question why, it answers every question, which is if it enhances your life and allows us to deepen our relationship, whether it's between me and you as an employee and a member, or between two members, you've accomplished the objective. It's agnostic as to the platform. Golf happens to be our biggest one, but pickleball,
Right?
aquatics, fitness, dining are all platforms for what we call micro communities, where we curate activities that bind people together and enrich their lives.
Yeah.
And people ask me, we talked earlier about people that have left the business and have kind of checked out. The reason why I don't want to ever check out is because this business is also life. People want to be with people.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it,
Yeah.
is because of the human connection.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we get to make a living selling human connection is pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think you can feel that coming to this show every year of most people come, if you ask them why they come here, I mean, there's a economic component to it, but the next reason is the people.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
People
Every
you've
time.
seen forever, 15 years, 5 years, people you met last week. That's why people don't go away.
Exactly right.
And that can carry over to a game you play for the rest of your life. Well, if you're lucky enough, then that's even all the more better. So does that always kind of come through in what we do as an industry of that exactly what you're talking about? People working with one another, enriching lives together, forming relationships and bonds, or do we kind of come across sometimes as too transactional, and how do we kind of shy away from one for the other?
I think that is the challenge. And I think if there's the weakness of our industry is that we have a tendency to be way too transactional.
Yeah.
And we're not deep enough with the consumer. And where there's magic, it's not in the transaction.
Right.
It's in the relationship. And it's what that transaction meant to making your life better. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a bottle of wine at a dinner, the story about where we get our bread, or the equipment you're playing with, one piece of which might make the game a little easier for you.
Yeah.
It's all about the relationship that's built through that transaction. And that's where I think we fall short as an industry, but it's also where the opportunity is. Because look, it's good business. When you have a deep relationship with the consumer, they don't leave you.
Right.
And they spend more. Said another way, they become loyal.
Yeah.
And that's why you do it from a business perspective. It's great business, and it's also just a lot more fun.
Yeah. I feel like the struggle, especially we were talking earlier about people coming into the game and getting them from either non-traditional forms of golf or a first clinic, first experience, and get them to that level, hardcore golfer. That we don't have that kind of system to nurture that relationship because golf is so decentralized and it can happen in so many ways that there's not, and maybe that's where PGA of America comes in, of having a arm around the shoulder, welcome in, let's start you on your journey instead of you're out on your own, go figure it out.
That you just said it. It's the beginning of a journey. And the PGA of America, the golf professional, is your journey coach.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what needs to happen. And the PGA of America has had to transform their focus to shift to being the journey coach for every golfer.
Yeah.
And I think they see that now. And I'm delighted about that. And I think their new CEO, Derek, gets that. I know Craig Kessler, their COO, gets that. I think Seth Waugh got that. But it's it's a pretty big culture change.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And that the sooner that happens and the deeper that goes, the healthier this business will be.
All right, last question. What are the things you're most excited about, either coming out of this week or about 2025 and the near future?
Look, I'm excited about this conversation is happening more and more and more across the industry. I mean, I think people are really beginning to focus on the importance of taking all this new interest in golf and keeping it.
Yeah.
And understanding you don't do it with a transaction. You do it by getting people embedded through relationships.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of really exciting, new and fresh energy in the business. I think it's going to be tough to counteract some of the more challenging issues that we don't have a lot of control over. But we're sure trying, and I think we're making a lot of progress. And I think in spite of some of those challenges, we continue to see growth and excitement around the sport. And I'm really excited about what the PGA of America is doing and what companies like Invited are doing. We're all doing our part to try and make golf more welcoming. And it's a major initiative for the owners, National Golf Course Owners Association, the president, Kathy Harbin, a whole initiative around making golf more welcoming, providing kits and basically certifications so that if you're a new golfer and you see this stamp, this facility knows how to treat a new golfer, to quote you, to help them on the beginning of their journey. Because the first part of that journey is the most important part of that journey.
Yep.
That's where people either stay in or they veer off to the left or the right.
That's absolutely right. Well, David, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Enjoyed it very much.
It's great.
Thank you.